The Amityville Horror, a true crime tale drenched in supernatural mystery. The peaceful town of Amityville, New York, was irrevocably changed on November 13, 1974, when 23-year-old Ronald DeFeo Jr. committed a heinous act of violence. The house at 112 Ocean Avenue, a stately Dutch colonial overlooking a serene canal, became the scene of one of the most infamous mass murders in American history. The 6 members of the DeFeo family were found murdered in their beds, shot at close range with a high-powered rifle. But this was only the beginning of the house's dark legacy, which would soon spiral into a tale of haunting and horror that captivated and terrified the world. On the surface, the DeFeos appeared to live an idyllic life. Ronald DeFeo Sr. was a hard-working man who had achieved the American dream, purchasing the sprawling Amityville home for his wife, Louise, and their 5 children. Yet behind closed doors, the family was deeply fractured. Ronald Sr. was domineering and abusive, particularly toward Butch, his eldest son. Butch, struggling under the weight of his father's expectations, turned to drugs and alcohol, which only exacerbated his erratic behavior. Neighbors often heard shouting matches erupting from the home, and the tension was palpable to those who knew the family. Butch began skipping work at the family's car dealership and engaged in petty theft to fund his substance abuse. Despite his behavior, he continued to live in the home, his relationship with his father deteriorating by the day. In the early hours of November 13, Butch took his father's Marlin rifle and carried out the unthinkable. One by one, he entered the bedrooms of his parents and siblings, shooting them as they lay in their beds. His father and mother, Ronald Sr. and Louise, were the first to be killed. Then came his brothers and sisters, Dawn, 18, Allison, 13, Mark, 12, and John, 9. By the time the slaughter was complete, all 6 family members were dead, each shot in their beds, lying face down. Curiously, there were no signs of struggle or attempted escape, and neighbors later reported hearing no gunshots, despite the weapon's loud report. This fueled speculation about whether Butch acted alone or if some otherworldly force had rendered the victims incapacitated. These questions would haunt investigators, and the public, for decades. The next day, Butch appeared at a local bar, claiming he had discovered his family's bodies after returning home. Initially, he blamed the killings on a mob hitman, spinning a convoluted tale about his father's alleged connections to organized crime. But his story quickly unraveled under police interrogation. Within hours, Butch confessed to the murders but insisted he was not entirely responsible. He claimed that voices in the house had commanded him to kill, setting the stage for the supernatural elements that would later engulf the story. During his trial, Butch's defense team argued that he was legally insane, pointing to his claims of hearing voices and his long history of drug abuse. The prosecution, however, painted him as a calculating killer motivated by financial gain, citing the substantial life insurance payouts he stood to inherit. After deliberating, the jury rejected the insanity defense, convicting Butch on 6 counts of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to 6 consecutive life terms, ensuring he would spend the rest of his life in prison. Just over a year after the murders, the house at 112 Ocean Avenue was purchased by George and Kathy Lutz for $80,000, a bargain price that reflected its grisly history. The Lutz family moved in with their 3 children, optimistic about their new start in what seemed to be a dream home. But their optimism was short-lived. Within days, the family began experiencing what they described as a relentless series of paranormal events. George, a former Marine, was the first to notice that something was amiss. He complained of an intense, unnatural cold that seemed impervious to heating. He began waking up at exactly 3:15 a.m. each night, the time of the DeFeo murders, and reported hearing strange noises throughout the house. Kathy experienced vivid nightmares about the killings and claimed to wake up with unexplained welts and scratches on her body. Their children also exhibited strange behaviors, with their youngest daughter, Missy, insisting that she had befriended a ghostly entity named Jody, whom she described as a demonic pig with glowing red eyes. As the days turned into weeks, the alleged haunting escalated. Green slime reportedly oozed from the walls, foul odors permeated the air, and windows and doors opened and closed on their own. One of the most chilling incidents involved Kathy, who claimed to have levitated above her bed, watched helplessly by George. On another occasion, George saw Jody's glowing red eyes staring at him through a window, a sight he would later describe as the most terrifying moment of his life. The family also reported hearing disembodied voices and footsteps, as well as a phantom choir that seemed to emanate from the walls. A priest who came to bless the house allegedly fled in terror after hearing a booming voice command him to get out. These events became so unbearable that the Lutzes fled the house after just 28 days, leaving most of their belongings behind. The Lutz family's harrowing account was documented in Jay Anson's 1977 book, The Amityville Horror, a True Story, which presented their experiences as factual. The book became a bestseller, and its success spurred a 1979 film adaptation that further cemented the story in popular culture. However, the tale's authenticity quickly came under scrutiny. Skeptics, including investigative journalists and paranormal researchers, pointed out inconsistencies in the Lutz's story. William Weber, Butch DeFeo's former attorney, claimed that he had collaborated with the Lutzes to fabricate the haunting, aiming to profit from the notoriety of the house. Subsequent owners of the property reported no paranormal activity, and some even welcomed skeptics into the home to prove its normalcy. Despite the controversy, the Amityville story remains one of the most famous, and divisive, cases of paranormal activity in history. Believers argue that the house is a hub of supernatural energy, pointing to its location on land once used by the Shinnecock Native American tribe for burials. Skeptics, on the other hand, see the tale as a masterful example of media sensationalism, fueled by the public's fascination with the macabre. The house itself has undergone numerous changes over the years, including renovations and even a change of address to deter curious onlookers. Yet its legacy endures, inspiring countless books, documentaries, and films. Whether viewed as a tragic crime scene, a site of genuine paranormal activity, or a carefully constructed hoax, 112 Ocean Avenue continues to captivate and haunt the public imagination. At its core, the Amityville saga taps into universal fears about the fragility of safety and the possibility that evil can infiltrate even the most idyllic of settings. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about the nature of violence, the boundaries between reality and the supernatural, and our collective need to find meaning in chaos. For some, the story of the Amityville Horror is a cautionary tale about the power of belief and the allure of the unknown. For others, it is an enduring mystery that defies explanation, a reminder that some places, and stories, are destined to remain shrouded in shadow.